Donnie Bailey. How you doing, man?
Good.
Good. Glad you made the trip down. We've been talking about it for a while now, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
What, a month or so?
I think
Less than that?
No, I think it's been more.
Has it?
I think you first started talking to me in the middle of turkey season.
It might have been that long.
Yeah.
It might have been that long, now that I think back on it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I'm glad you made the trip down. I really appreciate you making the trip down. It's not just kind of had a drive to get down here, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem, man.
But for everybody that doesn't know what Donnie Bailey's about, you want to explain it to everybody that's listening in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the head guide of Burning Sky Outfitters. We do Canada Goose up here in Michigan and the Thumb area, and we also do snows in northeastern Missouri, and we just started an operation down in Texas, West Texas, doing sandhill cranes, ducks, and geese.
Sandhill cranes, that'd be wild.
Yeah, it's an interesting hunt, I'll tell you that.
I'm sure. I mean, everybody up here in Michigan, as you know from guiding up here, like you see those sandhills out there, you just want to blast them right out of the sky, ribeye of the sky. Do they taste as good as people say?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of surprising because like the first ones I ever shot and cleaned, it's a stinky bird.
Really?
Yeah, like it's a fucking stork, you know.
Right. 8 foot tall, damn near.
Oh yeah, but no. So like the first one I cleaned, I'm like, man, these things stink, and
There's no way it's tasting good.
no. And I cut the breasts out, and I think we grilled them just with some salt and pepper on the grill, medium rare, and it's like Wagyu steak, dude. It's
really
delicious. Takes you by surprise.
Wow. You never really think of like something that you're like. What would you categorize them in? Because it's not really like the waterfowl. Would you say that or no?
Yeah.
It's kind of a tough kind of thing. Like
Yeah, it's a migratory bird.
okay, yeah, that's probably the way to say it for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I've seen some of those bands that come all the way from Russia and they're shooting them down in Texas. Like absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Have you ever ran into any of those? Like the banded?
I have never seen a banded sandhill crane in my life.
That would be incredible to find one or to be able to harvest one.
Yeah.
Shoot one, harvest, whatever.
To my knowledge, they don't band a ton of them. It's not anything like Canada geese in
Right.
those respects or ducks.
Right. Because they have a lot of tarsals, I want to say, that what I've seen anyway. And they could be the Russian birds that are flying down through the West Coast or whatever it is, and I don't know. It would be something to see. But where kind of are you guys located at? Who got you into the hunting? Kind of where did the passion come from?
So we're located right at the mouth. Well, I mean, our lodge is about 15 minutes from the mouth of the St. Clair River, right at the south end of Lake Huron, by Port Huron. And I've been goose hunting since like I was 3.
Okay.
With my cousin Steven, my dad, and my uncle Steve, and their buddies growing up, duck and goose hunting. They take us out here and there, and they'd let me and my cousin Steven bring out BB guns, and we'd shoot the decoys, and they get pissed off at us.
Acting like you guys were something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't start hunting, like actually shooting, until I'm not even sure, because I think it's when the state of Michigan implemented that the apprentice license.
What is that, like 11 or something like that, I feel like? Or is that even younger than that?
It's either 10 or 11 or 12.
Okay, I was going to say, I know there's something around there. I feel like it's somewhere around there.
It was somewhere in that ballpark is when I actually started going on hunts. But unfortunately at the time, my dad and my uncle kind of got out of it a little bit. It just became, with work and everything, they just weren't able to consistently do it like they used to. And, the same thing with my cousin Steven. We wanted to keep on going out, and we get out here and there, and then once I turned 16, because I'm a year older than Steven.
Okay.
I turned 16, game on.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah, we hit the ground running, and our dads didn't. I mean, they went out with us. I mean, my dad didn't really go out with us until a few years ago. He started going out again. It was more so Steven's dad. He'd go out with us here and there, but a lot of it was a learning curve, because all the decoys that we grew up with were all junk by the time that we got old enough to start hunting. Because
let me guess, Bigfoots and like the old school,
like flambeaux, goose shells, and all that. But
the floaters and then the shells, kind of, you know what I'm talking about? Those giant shells that are okay.
Yeah, we had all that old stuff, but it was all junk by the time we got old enough to start hunting, because it all sat in sheds or outside and got sun bleached, and they were falling apart at the seams. So we kind of had to start buying our own stuff, and I can't remember what exactly we were using. I know my first decoys I personally bought were a bunch of old real geese decoys.
Okay.
With the wooden stakes on them. I bought them at Bay City Waterfowl Festival, used, and it was like, I think he charged me like $20 a dozen or something.
Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't the greatest decoys, but
they did it justice though at the time.
I mean, back then though, I had like a real rough put together group of kids, of buddies that would go out with us, and we just had to figure it out.
Right.
I mean, like I said, Steven's dad went out with us, my uncle, and he'd help us out when he came out with us, but the rest of the time it was just kind of us figuring it out. And we hunted a ton the first year when I was 16, and we didn't kill a lot of geese, I'll tell you that. I remember in particular, though, towards the end of the season, we had a field that had like 600 in it, and it was a cut corn field, but
freaking out.
Oh yeah, like, you know, we were on cloud 9 thinking,
right.
Oh, we got it. Like, this is going to be an absolute banger. And there was some standing corn in the field, so the hide was there. And all I had was all those real geese silhouettes. And I had like 6 dozen of them, maybe. I don't even know where they're at now. I think I sold them like 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, we had all those silhouettes out, and we set up on that feed, right? And all the geese came at one time, like all 500-600
Oh,
of them.
man, that's the worst.
And that giant mob of them came over us and circled like 6 times. They didn't like something, probably because the decoys weren't set up right.
Right, something.
Someone wasn't hidden well. But,
Yeah.
that was
Pie
the
facing
closest.
something.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, we got close. So, like, I mean, it was questionable. Like, we could have took them high. And for all of us, that was kind of like...
Lit the fire.
Yeah, that really took it off for everybody. Like, we almost just had an awesome hunt. Right. Almost.
I got a story for you. When I was first starting off, I think it was 5 years ago or so, in the field wise, because we grew up. So I got into it with a buddy and got my dad into it, got the whole family into it. We used to be big deer hunters. Completely stopped deer hunt. My dad was making fun of us. Why are you guys shooting ducks out there? Why are you freezing out in the water and this, that, and the other? We started getting fields, this, that, and the other. Granted, we were only shooting like 45, 50 birds a year. I mean, we were new. Fields are hard to come by, as everybody knows.
Right.
And same thing. We had like a 300 bird feed in one of our fields. All of them come at one time. And, of course, it was a time where I'm taking a piss down the tree line. So I'm like recording and trying to watch everything going on and hopefully getting like a sweet, like just rain out. And it was just my buddy, I think it was my buddy Trav and my dad. I hear them like pull up and say take them or whatever. They start blasting away. There's 6 shots, and all of a sudden I'm like waiting for like a bird to fall. And these 300 birds are right in their face and waiting for a bird to fall. And all 300 birds fly off, like almost seem like untouched. And it's like, how did you guys miss? Like, are you kidding me right now? But it was like the same thing. It was just like lit that fire. And I think like the next year when we really got into it, we were up in like the 300-400 mark with geese. It was just takes that one hunt to really get you going and get you like to understand, I guess you want to say, or like interest you more to be successful out in the field.
Right.
You know, it's I don't know. And I tell everybody too that you have to go out there and experience the bad times to be able to be a good hunter out there.
Yeah.
You have to experience, whether it be the hide, the decoy setup, whatever it is, like figure it out on your own. Don't be asking around, and everybody's gonna have different experiences out there. You can't go off of I can't go off of your experiences growing up, and you can't go off of my experiences growing up. Like, you got to just figure it out on your own, because yours works and mine works, but your way doesn't work down here compared to my way, might not work up there, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
But so you guys started hunting, you and Steve started hunting and everything. What kind of made the switch for you guys to start guiding? Because I mean, that's a giant step for people with asking for like farmers and all of that stuff. What was that switch?
So I mean, after that hunt, me and Steven really got into it. A couple of our buddies did. A few of them fell out. They just weren't interested in it.
Didn't have the passion, right?
Yeah. So after season, I want to say the next spring, Steven's dad and Steven started buying some full bodies, and I bought like maybe a dozen.
Okay.
Maybe. And they were all final approach full bodies. We got a spread of them. I mean, it wasn't a big spread. I think it was...
Not for you guys.
I think it was 6 dozen is what we ended up having walking into that second season of me being 17. Mm-hmm. And we started actually killing things. Because, I mean, that first year we didn't hardly kill anything.
Struggle. But it's that whole learning thing that I was just talking about.
Exactly. And, we actually started figuring it out. And... we were hunting out of layout blinds for a while, for a few years, even after that. We started doing better and better and better. And then finally I got invited out on a hunt on a piece of property that I've always wanted to hunt. And one of my buddies, he actually got permission on it. And he invited us out there, and we were going to hunt out of A-frames. And at the time, I was absolutely against them. I thought it was the dumbest looking thing ever. It's just a giant rectangle in the middle of a field, right? And we get out there to set up, and we set it. It was a bean field in, I think it was like towards the end of November. It was later in the season. The geese were stale, and I've never hunted out of these A-frames before, and I thought absolutely that we were not going to kill anything.
Right.
Like, I was thinking we need to be tucked up on the edge in the grass in layout blinds and try to side shoot them or something. But no, we set those A-frames, I think it was like 10 yards off of the edge of the field, and we brushed them in, and that was the best goose gun I ever had at that time. We shot 40 geese in 45 minutes. Like,
really?
They just, every single flock gave it up. We just mowed them down. And at that point, it was a game changer for me. I'm like, I'm buying a damn A-frame tomorrow.
Right.
So, yeah, we ended up buying a couple A-frames, and then the next season was the best season yet. I mean, we were limiting out every single weekend, every Saturday and Sunday pretty much. We were on the geese, and we were starting to acquire more land. And
are you guys paying for that, or just solely permission-wise?
Well, I mean, at that time, it was just solely permission-wise. So I think it was my senior year of high school. I wanted to do a snow goose hunt as like my senior trick thing. You know?
Right.
I wanted to go down to Arkansas or Missouri and shoot some snows because I've never seen a snow goose before.
Which they're getting more and more around here now. But
absolutely.
We'll get into that.
Right. So we paid a bunch of money. I saved up for a while, and me, my cousin Steven, my buddy Easton, and another buddy of mine, we went down to Missouri with my dad. Or we were supposed to go to Arkansas, and then the outfitter changed it on us to the last minute, said we're going to southern Missouri in the Boot Heel. Down to Sykeston, and we went snow goose hunted, and I think in the whole trip we shot 10 snows. Wasn't the greatest.
The
birds were there. Oh yeah, but
see that kind of stuff. Not to cut you off, like I went to New York a couple times with my buddy Trevor. He runs a guide service out of Finger Lakes area. Going to places like that though, it's just like a whole different like realm though. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to shoot a bunch of birds. It's like somebody else like from, let's say, Ohio-wise, where it's all flat and nothing to it, going to an area where there's some, like, rolling hills and, like, you can see, like, just way out. Like, it's just a whole different experience that people have to kind of look past the amount of birds, but look at more of, like, scenery aspect or just taking everything in. Right. You know what I mean? And for you guys, for young kids doing that, it's probably kind of how you guys felt. Obviously, you wanted to have that big pile picture. But
oh, yeah. But, I mean, the thing was I've never been anywhere down there in the Mississippi Flyway, down there, Arkansas, Missouri. I've never been there before, and to get down there in the southern part of Missouri, it was just like a different world.
Right.
Everything's flooded. There's rice fields all over the place. I ain't never seen a rice field in my life before, and there's ducks everywhere. Because I mean, up here we don't have the crazy ducks that they get down there. You know.
No.
And like I remember specifically. Because I think we got down there a day early and we drove around and just kind of hung out for the first day before we actually started hunting. And like we were driving around in the morning and there's fields with thousands of ducks in them. And I seen a pintail for the first time in my life. Because we don't get a ton of pintail up here. Right. But it was cool. And then to see the snows, because I think it was our last day hunting. We were hunting a flooded cornfield, I want to say it was, if I remember correctly. And we were hunting layout blinds, and we only shot like 4 geese our last day, and we jump shot them out of the decoys coming back in the afternoon.
feel like that's how most of the snow goose hunts go. You go for lunch or whatever, they're just already sitting in there.
Yeah, exactly. And we walked back out. My cousin Steven shot a blue, and he was gonna get mounted. I do not remember if he ever did. But yeah, like that afternoon, we watched probably a couple 100,000 snows pushing north in just a solid straight line. Consistent birds for a couple hours, and I thought that was the wildest thing. Right. To see birds in that kind of
migration, right.
Because I mean, being up here, you don't see that. Yeah. You know, you see a 2,000 bird feed in Michigan. Holy shit! Yeah,
right. Well, not even, you see 1,000 bird feed, and you're thinking the same thing.
That's something to be really excited about.
Right.
But down there, thousands drop the bucket. Yeah.
Right. 1,000 down there is like our 100 up here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like, all right, let's see if we can find something better.
Right. But so we did that first snow goose hunt, and obviously we were a little bit disappointed we didn't shoot a bunch of geese.
Right.
But so the next year, my dad had met this gentleman that owned a deer outfit, and he went hunting with him, and he told us he used to be a snow goose guide, and so he told my dad that we could come down snow goose hunting. So me and my cousin Steven and I think my cousin Deegan and his buddy came down with us, and we went on a snow goose hunt, and it was quite a bit better. I think we ended up shooting like 30 something down there in 2 or 3 days.
It's pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad.
Right.
I think the one morning we shot like 17, and that was enough for me. Like I was satisfied. I got my first blue goose.
Right.
I got it mounted in the lodge now. But yeah, no. While we were down there, so this guy, every morning we'd wake up. I was the first one up, and we ended up switching fields the second day we were there, and to switch fields we had to pick up the spread and move it to another field. And
full bodies and everything?
No, it was just socks.
Okay, I was gonna say because the full bodies, like picking up a snow goose spread. Good lord, I could only imagine.
Oh, it's
that.
fun. It's fun.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, if you're watching it go down, not the person picking it up.
Right. But no. So his deal was he only had one other guy working for him. It was just the two of them as guides, and they're like, well, we need to move this other field. But he's like, realistically, we're not gonna be able to move to this other field and be able to hunt this afternoon if we're gonna move and it's just the two of them.
We need to go now.
Yeah. So he's like, if you guys want to help, we'll be able to hunt this afternoon there. So I'm like, absolutely.
Right.
So we start helping, and it was a pain. It was horrible because we couldn't drive out in the field. It was a muddy mess. Typical snow goose season stuff, though.
Yeah.
It took us a couple hours to get the spread out, and once we got the spread out, we set up, and I don't know if we shot any that evening, as it turns out anyways, but the next morning we had a great morning out there. That's where I shot my blue goose, and by the end of it, though, the guide kept on making little comments to me. He's like, man, you should be doing this. Like, you should be guiding. He's like, you know enough. Like, I mean, he told me how to set the decoy spread and help him with it, and I was out there setting up decoys with him. I helped him brush in the blinds. I was touching up the blinds in the middle of the hunt. And he kept on telling us, he's like, you guys need to be doing this. So finally, thought about it for a while, and on the way home we talked about it a little bit, and then once we got back to Michigan, me and Steven talked a little bit, and like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's try it.
Ball rolling.
Let's see what happens, And our first year, it wasn't like we were booking anything crazy. I mean, it was pretty much just the weekends because I was still working a full-time job, and it went great. I mean, we had a bunch of repeat clients in September alone, and we had a bunch of good hunts. October and November went super well, and I met a ton of great people, and going into the second year, we just came out swinging. We got a bunch more stuff. My buddy Isaiah, he got more involved. He helped us out a lot in the first year, but he wasn't really guiding, and he was just kind of half-ass helping us out,
in the background.
Right. And the second year going into it, he was all in. Second year went phenomenal, much better than our first year. I mean, like I said, there was nothing to complain about with our first year, but we booked a lot more, and I jumped into it full time. Isaiah jumped into it full time. Steven just kind of helped out on the weekends, and it just took off from there. I mean, I think our first year, I by the time I closed my books, it was the middle of season.
Okay.
And then our second year, we were done booking by, I think, like, towards the end of July. We were booked out. And this year, we've been done booking for Michigan since, I think, May.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we had September booked out for the most part back in February.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't start booking for the next year until January 1st. Turn of the year, then I start booking people for the incoming season. But, yeah, I mean, it's just grown and grown and grown, and I can't complain. I mean, it's great.
Where are you guys finding most? Like, you're like starting off, you're trying to get the name out there, you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to really just show people who you are and what you guys are, like who you guys are about. How do you do that? Like, where are you looking for your clients and Facebook
and word of mouth.
Okay. Word of mouth is huge.
Yeah, that's absolutely the biggest thing. That was especially huge for us our first season because after guys started hunting with us,
right,
they started telling their buddies. The next thing you know, their buddies are coming to hunt with us.
Right.
And yeah, word of mouth has been absolutely essential to us. I mean, especially with going to other states, meeting other people. That's how. I mean, just meeting the right guy.
Yeah.
And
it takes literally that one guy. Like
yeah, you just meet the right guy and you rub him the right way. He likes you a little bit. Next thing you know, he's bringing a group of buddies out and we're hunting together. And then, you know, as I got it on my website and a lot of my business cards, I think, have it on there. My favorite saying, though, in this line of work, my favorite saying is show up as a client, leave as a friend, because 99% of my clients, we're buddies. I mean, especially the return guys. Most of my clients are return clients. Obviously, you know, as an outfit, I've had the handful that don't come back or
which you'll get that
whatever.
with everything, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like they even, you know, the guys that don't come back are more so in the situation of, I don't even know how to explain it. They're just people that no matter what you do, you can't make them happy kind of guys. And
so how do you, not to cut you off with that, like how do you go about with that though? How do you, because I mean, you're gonna deal with that. You're gonna deal with like people that are bringing, like, say their dog that jumps, or your people showing their face or not listening to you. Like, how do you keep your composure with that, or what's your advice to a guy that like me wise that bring people out there and try to have a good time? How do you go about that wise?
Well, I mean, I think there's definitely a fine line between buddy hunting and outfitting.
100%.
With dealing with it, because if it's a buddy hunting and your brother's friend is down at the end of the blind,
you can cuss him out pretty easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But with outfitting, obviously, you could do that. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. That's how you don't get return clients right there.
Exactly. I mean, so my approach to it is obviously, you know, staying professional and just kind of talking to him and explaining to him, like, listen, you might think these are just a bunch of dumb fucking geese that sit in a park all year.
Exactly.
But I'm telling you, you're in their world right now.
Yeah.
They're not as stupid as you think.
Exactly.
And sometimes I've had one group in particular that I remember where the guy kept on saying, these things are in the park and these things are fucking stupid and yada, yada, yada. But
you'll have those geese, but then you'll have the geese that we're hunting.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, I mean, and some people just can't ever wrap their head around it. They just don't want to believe you. They're too hard-headed.
Right.
But most people, 99% of them, after you explain it to them, and especially my thing is, too, is being able to tell the guys, like, listen, the geese are going to show up at this time. This is how they're going to act. And if they're acting a certain way, I'm talking and I'm telling everybody in the blind what's going on, because I don't want people looking.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm talking about it as we're calling and what's happening out there. And once people realize and see, because I mean, this is more so an issue with newer clients, but once they figure out that, hey, this guy actually knows what he's talking about, and I encountered this a lot our first and second year, just because
You're young.
Yeah, I'm a younger guy, and you get these older dudes that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. They're like, oh, this young kid knows more than me.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
Not a chance,
I've been doing this for 45 years.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, and they just don't want to believe you.
Yeah.
But once they see that you know what you're talking about, it becomes a whole different thing where it's not like they're trying to challenge you with knowledge.
Exactly.
And they'll actually listen to you. And I really haven't had an issue too much, especially up here in Michigan. I've had one group ever that was a problem. And, well, actually, no, I take that back. There was two. But,
well, I'm sure there's 3 and 4, too, but you just can't really think of them right now.
No, there isn't. There isn't. In the field, there's only been 2 problematic groups. And the one group was just extremely ignorant people. I mean, they had no reason to be complaining because we had a phenomenal hunt.
Oh,
and
okay.
We shot a bunch of bands.
That group.
We were shooting field ducks in Michigan in a hayfield. We shot a pintail in a hayfield in Michigan, which is like off the wall, and a black duck.
Shooting geese in a hayfield alone I feel like it's kind of hard to come by unless you're just running straight traffic, because most of the time they're not in those hayfields. I feel like they're in those silage in the springtime, or not springtime, but in the fall, like September wise, or they're literally sitting in the parks eating grass all day long.
Right, and I mean this field in particular. I mean, we shoot geese out of it every year, and that hunt, I know there's ducks in the area, but they stick to the marshes. Like, there's a marsh across the street and stuff.
Just hopping across.
Yeah, and we were just set up in the right place at the right time, and the ducks, I think we did bring a spinner just on a whim.
Right.
Like,
if they fly, they fly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, try to run traffic on them. And that day, they just did it. We shot blue-winged teal, which is the first time I ever shot a blue-winged teal on that particular hunt. Green-winged teal, a pintail, black ducks, and mallards.
In the field.
Wood ducks in a hayfield.
Wow.
Which was, I mean, to me and my cousin Steven that were running the hunt, we were on cloud 9 because that's like
100%.
the coolest shit ever. Like, that doesn't happen around us.
Teal for sure. I mean, in the fields and stuff. Wood ducks are also hard to come by in the fields. I feel like.
We if we're going to shoot a duck in a field, it's going to be a wood duck. 99%
Really?
of the time. Oh, yeah, especially hunting cut cornfield. I could usually tell, like, I'll look on Onyx and just look around the field. If there's a ditch that looks like it holds water in it, there's probably a handful of wood ducks somewhere in it.
So I've never shot a wood duck in a field.
Really?
Never shot
we've
one.
shot a ton of them. Every single year.
Early season we'll have them.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that, our special guest. I almost just cussed him out already. But, no, I've never shot any wood ducks in a field, though.
Really?
Never. I mean, I've seen them, like, September-wise, where it's super early and they're around.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never been there for, like, regular season being able to pull the trigger on them.
Right.
Which I've totally wanted to. And, you know, how it is. It's like, you know, you're shooting you're shooting teal in September or whatever, and you can, you know, the wood duck is the, colorful teal, people say, whatever it is. Like, like people are blasting them away.
Mm-hmm.
But, so starting this off, you got to have some people that are, like, really down talking you as well. Like, from the buddy hunts and jumping over to guide service.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got guys, oh, give me a break. I've been hunting with you, whatever. How do you go about that? Because I feel like that's a big conversation.
I think our first year, a lot of people thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
And I know that's how a lot of people took it, especially kids that were my age that goose hunted around us. They're like, oh, they think they're going to start guiding.
Right.
Like, really? Like, they just kind of laughed it off and thought it was never going to become anything. And then I had the handful of friends that were like, oh, yeah, you know, I want to come out on your guided hunts and this and that.
Right.
And the way I kind of handled that was I'd more so, if I needed the help, I'd be like, all right, you can come along and you can help us, you know, set the spread, set the blinds, brush the blinds, do all that. And, you know, there's only a select few kids growing up that I let do that would come out with us and help guide the hunts. But, yeah, I mean, I have had a lot of people that'll message me and be like, oh, yeah, you know, we hunted here so many years ago. You should let me come out and help. Like, trying to use me. And that stuff, I just kind of let it roll off my shoulder and just don't give into it, you know?
I mean, even social media nowadays, though, it's just, they know how to eliminate the weak, I guess you want to say, is the best way to put it. I mean, if you got a dream or a goal that you're setting and you have to be set in stone with that and be hard-headed at times with some of these people and just keep going no matter what, like, obstacle people are throwing at you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've talked about it before, like we started recording and everything. There's those guys out there that don't even know you or anything that are going to try to shoot you down any way they possibly can.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough for some. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I actually just talked to a guy, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday evening. This guy called me looking for a guide job out of Texas, and super good dude. But he was explaining to me, he's like, yeah, I really want to, that's, what I want to do is I want to be a hunting guide for waterfowl. And he's like, I started my own outfit last year, or 2 years prior, and he's like, I ran for a year, and it just didn't really take off. He's like, I just couldn't get clients. I had a really hard time of reaching people, and I think he said he guided mostly, like, family, friends, and local dudes, and some people just struggle to figure it out. It's a lot to figure out, though, like, once you get into it.
It's also a social thing, I feel like. If you're not a very sociable person, though.
Yes, absolutely. So, like, the personality of a guide is huge.
Right.
Because, I mean, if nobody wants to go and hunt in the field with a dickhead.
Right, yeah.
Like,
hear that, Nolan?
I hear it, dude.
Because, I mean, these guys are paying to go out on a goose hunt, and how would you like it as a client if you go and pay out on a goose hunt, and you're sitting in the blind, and your guide is just a total douchebag to you the whole time? Right. It just sits there and yells at you, and or just sits in the corner and doesn't say anything.
Yeah, well, help me put out decoys. It's not what I'm paying you for, dude. Or
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's small, detailed stuff. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, a guide's got to be able to be social and get along with everybody. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get clients that just are hard to get along with, but you smile and wave. You know?
Right.
I mean, keep it professional, and I think I'm a pretty easy guy to get along with. And
well, I mean, we've talked for, like we said, since turkey season wise, and this is the second time I've ever even like talked to you in person. The first time was at Bay City when I was like, I forget who I was even talking to, and I'm like, who the hell is tapping on my back right now? And Nolan was with me, and I'm like, oh, dude, I was literally coming to talk to you right after, but it was just like, the hunting world is, I mean, a lot smaller than some people think. I mean, the story that you were telling me out there, obviously everybody knows everybody, you know what I mean? Whether, you got the, strap on your gun, we'll say, or not, but whatever. So you keep on bringing up the lodge. Talk about this lodge. I mean, is that like, are people booking hunts from like through the lodge, staying at the lodge? Like, what is the lodge?
I mean, our lodge, essentially what it is when, like, it was like 12 or 13 years ago, we moved into this house, and the barn, the way it was set up is like we have a actual barn part that's out concrete floor, and the other part was made into like a makeshift bar setup, and it had carpeting in it and whatever. So eventually we ended up getting the carpeting out, and we put a big bar in there and opened it up, put a pool table in there. It's got a full kitchen, and we have a bedroom in there and a fully functional bathroom and a shower, and that's what we kind of use as our lodge.
Okay.
Our first year running, we didn't have any. I think we only had 2 guys that lodged with us, and like I didn't even know what to charge them, so I just charged them a small amount.
Right.
And the reviews were great. Everybody loved it, staying there. But I never thought about actually using it as a true lodge. Like, all we did is I'd have the clients, instead of meeting me at a gas station in the morning or something like that, they would
come for their hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Right.
Well, I mean, our first year, most of our guys were local. They were driving an hour or 2 in the morning, and then they were showing up at our house, and then they just kind of, usually I just have them hop in with us, head into the field, and they'd just kind of hang out at the trucks while we set up, or some people would help us out. But yeah, that's what kind of our lodge started as. And then going into our second year, we started reaching different demographics of people. We started getting guys coming from all over the country. Like I was telling you earlier, we were getting guys from Mississippi, Alabama, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, and all over the place, Florida. they're wanting to come out goose hunting, so we actually put a couple bunk beds in there and set it up as a true lodge where they could actually stay in there, and yeah, I mean it's turned into a great setup.
I feel like that's a whole thing too. Like for me personally, I'm not going to a guide service or out of state to go hunt the same birds that I'm hunting here. So like you said, like it's a destination spot which can absolutely like blow up, and like with your personality and having a lodge, and it's a whole next level kind of thing that you guys got going on over there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was more prominent, especially too with turkey, which I never would have ever guessed in a million years that somebody would want to travel from Texas all the way up here to shoot a turkey. Because I mean, I myself am not a big turkey guy. Yeah. And I was never even going to do the turkey side of the outfit.
That's what I was going to ask you about, like the turkeys and other guided stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I had no intentions on doing that. I'm not a big turkey hunter, and I've turkey hunted growing up. I've shot turkeys. Right. But it was never my thing. And Isaiah, once he started working with us, he just kept on bringing it up. He's like, man, we should do turkeys. We should do turkeys. I'm like, I can't do turkeys. Like, let me do it. Yeah. I'm like, finally, we're like, all right, screw it. Let's do it. It's all you, though. Like, he's the head guide for turkeys. That's his deal. And it went phenomenal our first year. I mean, we were just doing weekends. And the second year, we went full-time into it. And we had people coming, I don't even know how many different states. I mean, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana. Wow. Like, just for all over the country. Just for a turkey. And I still cannot, for the life of me, figure it out. I mean, I guess I understand it more so now.
I feel like more people are more passionate about turkeys, though, in a sense. Yeah. Because they want that Grand Slam. They want those Easterns. They want them true hard-wooded birds.
And then you get the guys that want to shoot one in every state.
Right,
and,
right.
I get it. Too, yeah, absolutely. I get it. It's cool. I mean, this past season, I guided... Oh, man. How many turkey hunts I guided? 1, 2... 3? Yeah, I got 3 turkey hunts, and we shot birds on every single one of them. Like our first turkey hunt I guided this year, we did opening day. And opening day, Isaiah took a guy out in the morning, and then my clients that I was going to guide were 2 dudes from Texas, and their flight got delayed. So they didn't end up landing in Detroit until like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. Or no, it was like 9:30, and they had to drive all the way up to our lodge. They got to our lodge, and they hopped right in my truck, and we took them straight to the field. We sat in the field for an hour. Done. And coincidentally, 4 Jakes walked out, started beating up the decoy, and 3 Toms walked out. And they told me to bring my gun. They're like, well, it's opening day, man. Bring your gun. What if 3 come in?
Right. Sure as shit.
I wasn't
3
going
of them come in.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on taking my gun. But, yeah, 3 turkeys came out. Well, 3 Toms. And I was taking the middle one. The guy on my left was taking the left. The guy on the right was taking his right. And we smoked them. And I've never even doubled with somebody before. I just went straight to tripling.
First one was tripling. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Now, so kind of going back to the waterfowl wise, just because you brought up shooting with the clients, do you shoot with your waterfowl clients?
It depends. It really depends majorly. If they want me to, absolutely. I'll shoot my limit, but I only shoot into flocks. It's not like I'm. Like, if there's a single,
and twos and
yeah,
stuff,
if there's a single, I'm not going to pull my gun. I'm not even going to touch my gun. If there's 5 and I have 6 clients, I'm not going to pull my gun up, Right. I only shoot into the big flocks, and a lot of the hunts, I don't, unless we're really laying into them and we're burning them. Yeah, I'll shoot my limit, and, we'll get a big pile. But I'm not taking my gun out and blasting away, and that's a big thing, too. I'm not shooting dudes' limits for them either. Right. I know I've heard the stories, I'm sure you have too, out west and stuff, where guys get in trouble for that.
100%, yeah.
Like, because
some of the biggest names in the company, in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and I get it, but at the same time, you can't be doing that. And I get it because you get clients that come in, and it's always the dudes that are like, oh man, I just got this brand new Super Black Eagle 3. And I could shoot a goose at 100 yards. And
we were just talking about that right before. Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, they're super cocky about it. And then they getting out in the field, and me as a guy sitting back watching them shoot, this dude couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Of course.
At 10 yards.
Of course.
Just god-awful shooting. But at the end of the day, that's not my fault. And a lot of guys understand that. And I've had one group that both hunts they've been on with me, they shot, I think, 8 the first time, and the second time they shot 13. And the dude was like, I'm not satisfied with these hunts.
Of course not.
But
then
I can't,
don't come back.
I can't help you shoot.
Right.
That's at the end of the day, I've done my job. When they're within 30 yards, that's between you and God. Like,
exactly.
Like,
exactly.
And I can't do that for you. And it sucks as a guy to watch, especially when birds are hard to work.
Right.
And you're sitting there calling. They're circling, and then finally you get them to finish. And you call the shot, and it's picture perfect. I couldn't even tell you the amount of times.
Dude, every bird flies off.
Oh, like, in particular, I'm not going to say when this hunt was because I don't want people hearing about it, but there was a hunt.
I say we drop their names, drop their Instagram things. Let's do it, dude.
Man, we had the most beautiful decoying flock of the season at this time, and it was, I'd say, between 30 and 50, and they decoyed at 10 yards, backpedaling in a cluster, and I had 8 clients. I didn't touch the gun. I was going to video it.
Right.
And,
something like that you have to video.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I ended up deleting the video because it was so sad. But
but that's the thing, though, man. Like, social media is a crazy thing you shouldn't have because you should have posted it. And
well, I could have edited out the shooting, which I later found out.
Kept the video.
Yeah. Well, I ended up doing that later in the season once we started having those situations happen more. But, I mean, man, yeah, they decoyed backpedaling at 10 yards. 8 clients. Told them to shoot, and they got 2.
Oh,
and
my God, dude.
It makes your heart drop. But you just kind of learn, after it happens so many times, you just kind of get over it and just learn to roll with the punches.
A good majority of, like, people who are doing, like, guided trips, I wouldn't say a good majority, but I feel like a little more than half are doing them just to, like, experience it versus going out and, like, kind of actually coming in with some understanding of what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
some of those guys, though, you got to think of, though, if they're only getting 1 or 2 hunts a year, and they don't have the equipment, they don't have the time to scout fields and this, that, and the other.
They're just out there having fun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But, yeah, they're just out there. I mean, they're bachelor parties, I'm sure you guys have, whatever it may be, and, going with it.
All right. Yeah, no, I mean, it greatly depends. I mean, I've had clients that have told me before that, oh yeah, I've never goose hunted before, and they get out in the field and they're straight shooters, like
from the hip.
Yeah, like we'll lay into a flock and he'll still have 1 shell left in his gun, and there's geese escaping
80 yards.
And and he ass packs one at 80,
yeah,
just crunches it.
That old Texas heart shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it.
That's funny. Well, that's what Sean was saying. That I don't know if you listened to that podcast at all, but Sean was saying that he had some clients out in Indiana, Illinois, something like that. I think it was Indiana. And 2 clients come out in the morning and they're like, yeah, we've never even shot a gun before. And he's like, what? Mm-hmm. And obviously they were not shooters because they were shooting from the hip and not the shooters that you're talking about. But it's like, do you ever deal with any of that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame every single morning, I feel like, for you guys.
Yeah.
I feel like you got a story for us to hear now.
Oh, yeah. No, this story in particular, I'm going to leave names out of it. I'm going to give some vague information.
Okay.
But this person never shot a 12 gauge before, a shotgun.
Oh, man.
And,
wow.
I taught them how to shoot a shotgun at the lodge before their hunt. And the target, there was a small tree, a dead tree.
Right.
And I had them stand 10 yards back from it. I'm like, yeah, just shoot the base of the tree.
Right.
It's so dead that it just blow apart.
How far? How big of a tree is it? 10 inch, 6 inch.
We'll go 10.
Okay.
Like, it's not a huge tree, but you're 10 yards away.
Okay.
Like,
it's like a base of an apple tree almost. Like kind of
yeah.
Okay.
And it's not something that would be hard to hit.
Right.
Like you just put the beat.
Hard to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or hard to miss. They shot a box of shells at it and couldn't hit it.
Holy smokes!
I was worried.
Sounds like you.
Worried.
Hey, easy.
But when push came to shove, they capitalized and they killed. So
no kidding.
Yeah, they killed. Man, I feel like a lot of the best stories I got though, I just can't.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I'm the same way. Like some of the worst, I shouldn't even say worst, but like some of the worst times out in the field are the best stories. Because like at the time you're like, dude, you got to be kidding me right now. Like, how did you guys do this? How did you guys do that? Like, why are you doing this? But then like looking back at it, you're like, dude, I will never forget this hunt.
Oh yeah,
on. You know what I mean?
I got so many, man, and yeah, I just don't want to. I don't want to put people on blast or anything like that. Because, like I said, 99% of my clients or people that have hunted with me are great people.
Right.
I don't want to shit on them by telling them or putting their story.
I mean, we can if you want. I mean, I'm down. I whatever.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
I'm just joking.
it.
No. Did you guys ever did you grow up hunting water at all, or is it
Yes.
mostly fields?
Yeah, so I grew up. I mean, a lot of field hunting. Field hunting was our vast majority of what we were doing, and I did have, in particular, one hunt that we did. We hunted. There was a marsh that opened up for public land. They created it into a public land marsh for waterfowl, and once that opened up, we were hunting there all the time. And I was young, maybe 6 or 7, and the ponds we were hunting, it was completely enclosed in phragmites. Sorry.
No, you're good.
And yeah, it was completely enclosed in phragmites, and we'd have to slip in because I mean, all in this marsh in particular, all the ducks were in every single pond. It was just loaded. And to get in there, it was super deep, and I was way too young to be wearing waders. I mean, the water was well over what I was able to even walk in the first place. I'd have been underwater. But, my dad and my uncle put me and my cousin Steven in a john boat and pushed us up into the phragmites, and they just kind of stood around the john boat. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, duck hunting, especially when I was young, that was the coolest thing ever to me. Just because,
I mean, so what got you into like the field hunting wise? I mean,
we did field hunting quite a bit.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, I love duck hunting, but it's just not like it was when we were doing it. Because I mean, back when I'll never forget the one morning when we were in that john boat. There was I bet you there was 300 ducks, literally like 15 feet, 10 feet in front of us on the water, and we were sitting behind a small, thin line of phragmites, and it was well before shooting time, and these ducks were just sitting there swimming and making their noise and doing their thing, and right into like 2 minutes before shooting light, all of them picked up and left, and we were all like, "What the hell?"
Right.
Like this is gonna suck, and 30 seconds after shooting light hit, they all came back, and they just started trickling back, and we massacred them. I mean, that was well before I was able to actually shoot myself. So, I think I have my Red Ryder BB gun with me. But
where did you grow up? Like what Great Lake, I guess, or was it mostly just?
Oh yeah, I still live right around where I grew up.
I mean, were you hunting the Great Lakes up there? Or no.
So yeah, surprisingly, I've never ever hunted Lake Huron.
Really, with living that close to it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been invited to go diver hunting a bunch of times, and every time I've been invited to go diver hunting, I got a goose feed for the morning, and
that's what's tough, man. Because I'll get invites to different states and stuff, and it's like, dude, I can't leave my birds here. I just can't do it. It's one of those things where you can't just I'm not going somewhere like we said, and I'm not gonna go out on a diver hunt. I want to see those G's just locked up on the spread, dump it in compared to diver ducks.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because everyone says, well, diver ducks are stupid. And
they are stupid. 1,000. That's the only thing I've hunted, and they're dumb as fuck.
So I had this debate yesterday though with these guys that came in, and do you think diver ducks are just all around that stupid, or do you think that there's just so many of them? It's just like new geese into the area that are fresh. They don't know what's in the field. They don't know what's structure wise. What do you, in your opinion? Because in my opinion, I think there's just so many buffleheads, redheads, cans, whatever. Cans are a little bit different because cans I feel like are super smart, but you know what I'm saying? There's just so many of them that. I
mean, in my classification, what I meant by diver duck hunting, I've never shot a canvasback or a redhead. Those are smart ducks to me still.
Right.
The dumb ones are the old squaw, the or longtail, or however you want to say it. Politically correct to be longtail. Magansers and shit like that, like buffleheads.
Right.
From my personal experience with those birds, I've never shot an old squaw.
No, me either. I'd love to.
Oh yeah,
they're beautiful birds.
But like the same thing with mergansers and coots and stuff like that. Because that's what I feel like a lot of guys go out and end up shooting. Out by me is they're shooting a bunch of mergansers and old squaw and shit like that.
100%.
You know what? I'll add something onto that. Like mergs and coots, 1,000% are stupid ass ducks. Like buffleheads, I'd almost kind of teeter it on the edge of. They're not the brightest, but, I mean, they got some common sense to them. But, I mean, we've had, we don't shoot mergs and coots at all. Like, we stay away from it. But, I mean, we'll have them literally, circle our spread, little land, leave for 5 minutes, and come back. Like, those are some actual dumb ducks.
Right.
I mean, granted, we're not shooting at them, so they don't really have anything to worry about. But, if we shoot at some buffleheads, we kill 3 out of 5 of them, we're not going to see those 2 again.
Right.
Versus, like, mergs, if we were to shoot at mergs, they'd come back 3 minutes later and try and land again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, dude.
Well, but then the same thing, though, with geese in early season. I couldn't even tell you the amount of times where we lay into a flock and it's September 1st.
Hail call back to them.
Oh, yeah. You pick up your call, you just start blowing it as hard as you can, and those things pull the e-brake, whip a Yui, and come right back in and die. Yeah.
Exactly. That was the first time that I actually got in, like, so, I have hunted, like I was saying, from that guy. We started hunting and everything. Me and Trav, the owners of, like, the Great Lakes page, we started hunting at my cousin's place. We didn't know a thing about hunting. We didn't know a thing about it on our own wise. I used to pack my truck up, like, just like you said, as high as we can with Bigfoot decoys. My buddies, I would borrow all the decoys. We'd go out there, and I had a 3-pack come in. And it was like, all right, 3-packs coming in, dude. We missed like all 3 of them. They do a swing around. We shot like 1. They swing around again. We shoot like another one. There's like 3 big swings, and we just kept on like pecking one off. And it was just like they're just dumb.
Oh yeah.
Early, they're not. And I use dumb like very lightly, but they just were a very uneducated birds through that area. Right. The way that I'm saying it as.
Yeah. Like probably yearling geese had never been shot at.
That just, I mean, for me though, it's like, you go through, a bird travels from 5 miles north down to you. Those are new birds to the area. They don't know much about it. So they could have been, city birds that just flew in or whatever it may have been, just passing through. You just never know how that kind of pans out wise.
Oh, yeah. And, that's the thing. I mean, especially with hunting every day and watching the same birds a lot. Like, I know during season, I keep tabs on roosts, and I, like, in a morning going scouting, I'll pick the most important one that I think most likely we're going to hunt a feed off of this roost, and I'll follow those birds out, and my thing is once you're watching them consistently enough, when new geese arrive. Even 100%. If they arrive in the middle of the night, like, all right, there's 100 more here than there was yesterday, because, I'm watching these birds every single day, and you could tell which ones are the new geese because the new geese will watch the geese that are residents, or not necessarily residents, but the ones that have been there for a few days.
They'll follow,
longer, and they'll play follow the leader.
Right, 100%.
And that's a great part about hunting the moults in September.
Those calendar birds that just fly down. Yeah, they don't know a thing.
Yeah, no, the molt migrators and those things come down. When they arrive, there's not a ton of geese around in the first place in September. I mean, yeah, obviously we have numbers, but they're going to migrate all day with that north wind, and then once they find a spot in the evening to land, they're going to drop down in a pond, and they're going to get up in the morning, and they have not the slightest fucking clue of where they're going. Right. And that's beautiful for being a goose hunter. Because if you find 100%. A roost in the evening that they're starting to pile into and there wasn't geese in it that day, like leading up to that, that's going to be great, because when they get up in the morning, like I've done this a few times in the past where I know for a fact every single goose in that roost has not fed around here yet. Right. There's not a single educated goose of what this area holds.
They're flying just to figure out what's going on. But traffic fields, I guess you want to say traffic, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. And like I've had spots where, all right, we're 700 yards from the roost, and us shooting doesn't bother them because they don't know what's going on.
Construction, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and there's roads around.
Right.
But Yeah, so like in the morning, like I'm talking like 15, 20 minutes before shooting light, you could hear them over there starting to make some noise.
Right.
And I'll take my call and start honking. Just let out a couple honks.
And you just see them perk up almost.
They'll hear it, and they'll communicate back, and it'll just kind of be some murmur back and forth. And as soon as they get up, I've had them. Their mind's already set. There's geese over there that know this area. That's probably what they're thinking is like, all right, there's some resident birds over there. We're gonna go right over there.
Roosted somewhere where we don't know.
They come up and they come right to the decoys and we start massacring them.
Yeah.
And those are the best hunts. I love that. I mean, we did that a lot. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. We hunted the same field and consistently did that like every weekend. Every time we get a new push of birds, we were in there.
You can't beat that.
No, and that's. In doing that is how I've decoyed the biggest flock of Canadas in Michigan I've ever decoyed, which was like, I want to say, roughly between 250 to like 400. It was a flock, a solid flock. The whole roost got up at one time, and that's what I did. You know, they were fresh birds. I was calling, me and my cousin Steven were calling to them before they got up off the roost when it was still dark. They knew we were over there, but they thought we were geese, obviously.
Right.
They all got up, and there was other birds in the area that were in a feed about 1.5 miles, 2 miles north of us. And those geese were actually going over there, but we had already changed the mind of these fresh birds to come straight to us. They all got up, and they all came in, and we rained them out.
Jesus Christ.
And it was beautiful. And then they go back over to the feed 2 miles north where someone else was actually hunting. And
you get shot up and fly right back down.
They wouldn't even get shot because they just got shot at and killed over by us.
Right.
So they go over to that other feed, and they'd circle, and then 2 minutes later they come back over the tree line, come right back to us, and then we'd shoot them again. Jeez. It was beautiful. Yeah.
So how many notes are you taking on like the scouts and stuff? Are you scouting your own birds, or you have guys scouting underneath you now?
I mean,
just move that a little bit closer.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, no, Isaiah's my main guide, hands down.
Okay.
And that kid is good at what he does. That's his craft. Usually I do look at the feeds the night before, and I want to see in person what's going on.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I have done the hunts where someone else has scouted it completely, and I've never seen it, and we'll go out there and set up, given the information that I've received, and it's worked out just fine. But usually I wanna lay eyes on it and actually see what's going on.
But you gotta have trust in yourself with that in the morning time. So yeah, I completely understand you seeing it and figuring it out that way.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing. I like to see, especially. I mean, I like to sit at a feed that I know I'm gonna hunt in the morning for about 20 to 30 minutes too,
100%.
if I can.
100%.
And just watching the binos and kind of see what the mood is with the geese, because if all the geese are out there feeding and they're constantly picking their heads up and they're just on edge,
right?
That I know for a fact that tomorrow we really got to be on our A game with everything being perfect. Right. But if they're out there they don't
munching,
yeah, they're munching or they're just relaxing or sleeping.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, they're obviously pretty lazy about what they're doing, especially if they're coming in and they're just dumping right in. They're not circling, because I've even seen live geese circle other live geese and then leave.
100%. And that's the thing too, where like some people are like, oh man, they're flaring off the blinds. No, it's just they're doing duck or goose things. Yeah, it's like just give it a little bit. They're gonna be flying back around. Like they're literally just doing what they did yesterday. Because I'm the same way. Like I get made fun of it all the time for it. It's like I want to see how they're set up in the field. I want to see, are they all upright? Because that's either telling me that they're new geese in the area and they're trying to figure out what's going on in the field, or there's not a lot of food left in that field and they're trying to figure out what's going on with it all. You know what I mean? I'm super anal about trying to figure out the birds and just really diagnosing on what's going on or what we're looking for the next day.
Getting a good grasp of what the mood is out in the field. That's
right,
huge.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, scouting's half the battle to it. I mean, that's even more than half the battle, I think. I mean, when push comes to shove, once you get set up out there, as long as you know what you're walking into, you're going to have a really good chance at
it. All goes back to the scout.
Now, let me ask you a quick question. So, you said scouting's half the battle of it, right? So, Would you ever change a field? So, like, say you're hunting a field, or you plan on hunting a field, like, the day before, right?
Mm.
Would you, if you were to look at the weather for the next day, would you change a field based on that weather or wind conditions or anything? Or when you have it in your mind, are you sticking with that field?
The only thing that would
depends on year for me.
It's not so much the weather, because the weather you could roll with the punches with. I still think most of the time the geese are still going to show up. I think it's more so, I mean, yeah, the bad wind, you could still roll with the punches, I feel like. My biggest thing that I hate it every single year, and it always happens, but if you set yourself up in the right spot for it, you'll be okay, is the full moon phase. That
sucks.
Screwed up some shit before, let me tell you what. I mean, I've had hunts, I think, off the top of my hand, or the back of my hand, I don't think I've really had any guided hunts that have been, like, horrible because of the moon phase. I think we've gotten really lucky with it, and actually gotten new birds, or for some reason, birds off a roost that they weren't supposed to be coming from ended up flying our way, and we kill those. But I have had it with buddy hunting where we have a monster feed for the morning, like 800 birds. And we go up there and set up, and we don't even see a goose because they all picked up in the middle of the night and
took off,
shot south.
See, for me wise in that question there, it's like if I'm sitting out there watching a feed going on, it's the middle of winter where it's cold, but it's also cloudy, and birds are probably moving early to mid-morning. The next day I see it's sunny out, but it's like the teens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hunting the afternoon. That's like the only time that I really consider on
so you just change time more than the place you're hunting.
Yes. Yeah.
See, I don't hunt afternoons. I won't do it.
I hate it because of the fact that all morning I sleep in them, like they're already out there. They're already out there because like mostly like the time where like in those situations they're feeding one time a day, and if you catch them, you catch them. If not, you're not going to see a bird out in the feed or out in the fields. So all morning I'm like, yep, we just screwed up. Like there's 2 more clouds than I thought this morning. Like, yep, they definitely fed. But
no, I mean the cloudiness, it does make a difference. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like that's more of an issue in early September, is when the weather is very like prevalent on what the geese are doing. Just because if it's super hot out,
right?
I mean,
very early or very late.
They're gonna feed very early and very late, and that's why I hate hunting afternoons, because every time I've hunted an afternoon buddy hunting,
right,
it's always went to absolute shit. Where they show up, literally, shooting time ends, and then you're picking up, and then the geese start showing up to the field.
Yeah,
but
that sucks too. I couldn't imagine that with like clients out there.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
they have to understand the same sense, though.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I've never really had something so drastic where it's like completely off the wall. Like I said, we don't see anything or anything like that. Like, yeah, I've had times where they just show up later than expected,
right?
And we have to sit out in the field longer. But usually they still show up. My biggest thing is water. So hunting water on a cloudy day, I hate it. A cloudy day is different. Usually you just got to sit out there and they'll show up a little bit later.
Well, because sunny day, they're water hopping.
Oh, yeah, which is beautiful when you're hunting water.
Right.
But, hunting water when it's raining is an absolute no for me.
Because I feel like they're in the fields all day long.
Exactly.
Right.
And, buddy hunting, I learned that the hard way before we started guiding. There'd be 1,000 geese in this pond the day before loafing, and it's a light sprinkle tomorrow. They'd probably still come back. No.
They feed all day.
They feed all day.
Right.
Or, as it happens, they'll stay out and about longer, and they'll start field hopping, or they'll go back to the big roost and hang out with all the other geese. I've seen that happen before as well. But, yeah, I mean, that's my biggest thing. If it's raining, we are not going to water. That's not happening.
I feel that. Mm-hmm. Do you guys have permanent blinds or no? You guys just running A-frames most of the time?
A-frames 99% of the time. We got one permanent blind set up. We don't hunt it very often. It's we got a pit blind set up. Isaiah does on a pond, and we hunt it on the occasion, maybe 2 or 3 times a season.
Okay.
It's a pretty small pit blind, so if we got like a small group of clients,
right,
we'll go out there and hunt that as long as the weather's cooperating with it.
Now, are you guys mostly so saying that wise? Are you guys mostly running X fields or traffic?
X.
That's yeah.
I don't think
It's hard to run traffic on a guided hunt. I feel like.
Yeah, no, not up here.
Right. Minnesota, like North Dakota, South Dakota, like those are a little bit more different.
I've ran traffic in Texas before, and it worked out phenomenally.
Right.
But yeah, out here, the thing is, the resident geese learn fast. I feel like up by me, I'm not saying you couldn't run traffic and kill them.
Right.
I've done it. I've killed geese running traffic. But with clients, running traffic's always a gamble.
100%.
And I just don't like to take that gamble.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. We got 2 blinds in that we put in this year. We put one in during turkey season, which is one of the 2 big hunts that we went on last year. It's a ditch, and we put like 4x4s in the middle of it, and we put a solid wooded in blind, and then the blind. I think we already mentioned it. I think I Snapchatted you, or maybe I didn't. It's like a 32-foot long blind. And
oh yeah,
yeah. It's gonna be a really good field. It's right out of the city limits too, so it's like it's perfect. But we'll see how it goes with it all.
Right.
But you also mentioned you just got a dog.
Yeah.
What kind of dog did you get?
I got a chocolate lab.
Chocolate. All right. Heard down and I heard some good and bad with it.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your goal with the dog?
He's just gonna be a workhorse.
Yeah.
That's the plan. I mean, I've really fallen off with the training.
How old is he or her?
He just turned 2.
Okay. Just turned 2.
Yeah, I got it from a trainer down in Florida. And,
okay.
Yeah, he's a great dog. I think he's gonna work out good. He's when I got him, he was already started.
Okay. So about 6 months then when you got him?
No, he was already started, but the trainer kind of had him around as a house dog too.
I gotcha.
Kind of deal, and yeah, so I got him back in. I think it was the end of January. I got him, and he kind of rolled with us through snow goose season. I didn't take him out on any hunts because he had never hunted before at that time. I took him out on one hunt. I had a dog trainer come and hunt with me to shoot snows, and he brought some of his dogs because he wanted to get them some field experience. And I talked to the trainer a little bit, and he told me to bring my dog. So I brought him out there, and I just let my dog kind of watch them retrieve.
Right.
He didn't go out and actually retrieve any.
Which is a huge learning curve for all of that.
Oh, yeah.
For the dog's purpose and yours in the same sense.
Yeah, because we that morning we hunted a feed, and it was the toughest shooting I have ever encountered personally. Because the way we were set up, we had the crosswind on snows, and the wind just picked up and got wicked when we were hunting. And I'm talking 40 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour winds on a crosswind. We were decoying snows at 15 yards, but the problem was
once you shot, they were just turning and gone.
Well, that, and you had to lead them by like 8 feet to be able to hit the motherfucker.
At 15 yards.
Yeah, like I couldn't figure. I did not hit a goose that morning. Like, I mean, because it was just me and that one guy.
Right.
And he shot, I think, 15 or 16, and we even had big groups, but we just were not hitting anything. And he killed a bunch of them. And after that, I had a pond that we had set up on the day before, and we hunted. And we just left the decoys out there because we didn't want to screw with it in the middle of the night. So I figured, I'm like, hell, like, we got dogs.
Right.
Let's just go out there and see if there's anything in the pond because it's snow goose season. The birds are migrating. They're pushing through. You have no idea if birds have just decided, hey, our decoy spread looked good in that pond, and they just dropped in there. So we ran over there just to see if there's anything in it. We got up there, and there was probably 10 snows swimming around in the decoys. And
crippled or actual?
Oh, they're
okay.
perfectly fine and healthy. And we snuck up on them and popped up and just kind of jump shot them, just me and him. And I think we killed 7 or 8 out of it. And I had one shell left in my gun. I didn't realize it, and I had my dog with me. And there was one Rossi sitting in the decoys, and he was up on the bank of the pond.
All warded up.
Oh, yeah. And I walked up, and I seen him. I pulled up and I shot this thing and I rolled it, like stoned it. It was only 15, 20 yards in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was stoked. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, my dog's about to get his first retrieve.
Right.
So I send him on it. And this goose, he gets about 10 feet away, and this goose stands up, looks at the dog, and just hops up and starts flying.
What?
I pull up to shoot it again and realize my gun's empty. And this is my dog's first retrieve. And this goose is flying, so he follows the goose. He starts chasing it in the air. And it flies over the pond, so he jumps in the middle of the pond. He starts swimming around, and then the goose just flies away while he's in the middle of the pond.
Right.
So he grabbed a floater and brought it back to me.
He's like, I got something, Dad. I got something.
Hey, listen.
But, yeah, no, I think he's going to be great.
That's good.
Especially starting out here in Michigan. It's going to be a lot less hectic than snow goose.
With as much traveling as you do, wise, through state to state and, even up here, wise, did the avian flu kind of mess with you guys at all? Or did you see any?
I seen it. I absolutely seen it. I seen a sandhill crane that had it.
Really?
No kidding.
And that was a strange experience because the crane that I seen that had it, it was on the edge of a field, and the owner of the field was a buddy of mine. And it was standing in the middle of the road, and I stopped when I turned the corner. I'm like, what in the hell?
Right. What is this bird even doing here?
I parked like 15 yards down the road from it. It just staring at my car.
Right.
But yeah, so I called the farmer, and because it started walking, it walked off the road into the ditch and into his field. And I called the farmer, and I told him, like, hey, I think there's one of the, you know what the bird flu is, right? He's like, yeah, I think I've seen it on Facebook. I'm like, well, there's a sandhill crane in your field that has it.
Right.
I'm almost positive it does, because it's, like I said, my car was 15 yards from it, and it wasn't flying away. It didn't care that I was there. And he's like, well, go out there and shoot that thing.
Right.
And it was still sandhill crane season at the time. And so I pulled into the farm drive of the field, like 150 yards down from where the crane was, and it just kind of walked off into the middle of the field. I got my gun, loaded my gun, I walked out there, and I got 10 feet from this bird, and it was just staring at me.
Really?
And it started to walk towards me, because cranes are really aggressive.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why, the whole, like, the dog goggles and the vest and...
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They're mean.
Right.
And it started to walk towards me, so I shot it. And then I walked up there and picked it up, and definitely had the bird flu, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But, yeah, it was sick. It was really thin. I opened it up, and the breasts were, like, paper thin. Well, not necessarily paper thin, but they were...
So that bird's probably been there for a while, just not eating, and yeah.
It was substantially thinner than what it should have been.
Right,
and yeah, it was rough. But I've seen a bunch of snow geese with it in Missouri, where you'd find a big feed, and then they'd leave, and
if you were staying there
after the morning, and there would be dead ones mixed in, and there'd be
Really?
ones that'd just be circling their heads around, wobbling their heads around, walking in circles.
Wow.
Did you see any like this past season? Did you have a lot of?
So we had, when Rip was a pup, which you'll probably meet Rip here soon. When Rip was a pup, we were walking Point Moulet, and this was before like it really got big. So it was very like early spring, before like the real like the big word came out and this, that, and the other. There was a goose sitting there, and I'm like, man, what the heck's wrong with this goose? Same thing, flaring its head around and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. I'm like, man, what the heck? Rip has never swam before at the time, and I'm like throwing rocks at this bird, trying to get, like, not at the bird, but like trying to get Rip to like realize the bird, because he was like 4 or 5 months at the time. And it's the same thing I did with Ellie, my black lab. Like, when we used to water hunt, I'd throw, rocks or whatever I had to kind of get her attention there. Like, if I pointed one way, I'd want her to, like, realize I'm pointing that way for a reason, Maybe she didn't see the bird fall, or he didn't see the bird fall, whatever. But he swims out there, and I'm like, holy shit, he's swimming. Like, what the heck's going on right now, Next thing you know, he's dragging the goose back. I'm like, holy crap, he's dragging a goose back on his first, swim, and now it's his first retrieve. And I'm like, band or no band, basically. Like, no band, I put the bird back. I didn't know what to do with it, and it was out of season. Looking back at it, I was like, well, I wish I would have called or, confirmed whatever. But yeah, that was the only time I've ever really realized it. But it was before I really had any knowledge towards the flu, you know.
Down in Texas, I seen one lesser that I think had it. I mean, we'd shot a bunch of geese that day, but I was cleaning the birds. This lesser was the most unhealthy looking bird I've ever seen the inside of.
Mm-hmm.
Its breasts were actually paper thin.
Really?
Yeah, like it was recessed down below, like, you know, when you're breasting out a goose, that center breastplate comes through the middle, divides the breast. That was sticking like way up over the breasts themselves.
Oh, that's called a crack whore there.
Yeah. That thing was so unhealthy looking, and we didn't eat that one. But
we had
that's dog food.
We had one over in Canada.
Okay,
with our buddies, and I was just going to check it out.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to tell you about it after this. Canada's amazing,
beautiful, and we were over there, and we had 2 groups of 2 people. We split up, and I was going with our one buddy, and we're walking up on. We had just a small spread sitting in one of the ponds that they got, and we're walking up on it, and we're like, it's a pretty large. I'd say like probably an acre big pond, and we got half a dozen mallard decoys sitting out in the pond. And we walk up on it, and we're like, what's sitting in the middle of those decoys right there? Like we couldn't get a good look. It was pretty far from us, and as we start to get closer and we're looking, we're like, oh no shit, there's a fucking goose sitting right there. So we kind of like creep up on it. We got a dog with us, so we're trying to keep him back, and instead of going and jumping for it. So we're kind of creeping around the bush, going up for it, and we kind of go after it. We're trying to get the best shot we can because we're not sure. And I mean, we get within 20 yards of it, and at this point we're kind of making some noise, just like crunching grass and everything, and trying to get it just at least to jump so we can get a shot, not trying to water swat it. And it never did. We got a shot off on it, and we hit it, and we're like looking at it, and it's just kind of swimming in circles. And I mean, from the beginning, this bird's neck, and I've never seen this. Like, I've seen some strange birds with some of that avian flu, but this bird's neck was completely folded over and like laying on its back, and he was just out there swimming. It was the weirdest thing, and we ended up getting it and bringing it in, and there wasn't really anything wrong that we could notice with the meat, but as soon as you picked the bird up from its neck, it was almost stuck in that position. It was the strangest thing. It was swimming in how you would imagine the avian flu, like it was swimming in circles.
Just neck, and then
it just wasn't quite right. And from what we could tell, it wasn't like it was a wounded bird. Like it wasn't like it was shot at before. It was just however the progression of that avian flu got it, that's how it was.
Really weird. Really weird. I guess another question for you. I have a couple more. State to state, not to get off your avian, like the avian flu wise, but
switch up.
State to state, how much different is it? From Texas to Missouri to Michigan. Like, how much of a process is it to switch up and figure out different areas and understand the birds in that area compared to up here?
It's a big difference. Especially, I mean, it's more so with the species.
Right.
I mean, big geese are dramatically different than, say, snow geese, lessers, and cranes as well. I think Michigan and Missouri are fairly similar, at least where I hunt Missouri.
Right.
I mean, I'm in northeastern Missouri, so it's not like I'm hunting flooded fields. But Michigan and northeastern Missouri are pretty similar in the setup and how you hide and all that. Texas is a completely different ballgame, though.
Oh, yeah, Texas. So with you guys going down to Texas and stuff, and how do you guys different yourself from other guide services? Or how are you going to different yourself from different guide services? Because I feel like Texas is up and growing, which it has been for a few years now. But there's a lot of outfitters out there. It's almost like Oklahoma and those kind of states. It's how do you different from others?
I mean,
it's a tough question. I mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of putting you on the spot there, but
yeah, I haven't really thought about that too much. I mean, I really don't care is the thing about other outfits. You know, I'm just trying to I'm focused on myself and what we're doing and doing it the right way.
Right.
You know, not putting people in trash fields and actually scouting. Being on the X every day is the biggest thing. On the X, or at least a great opportunity to run traffic. Because like I said, you know, down there in Texas, that's a completely different ball game with traffic. I mean, I've had great traffic hunts down there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just really more so I focus on myself more than anything and what we're doing. I don't get wrapped up in, because that's the biggest thing. Yeah, with waterfowl, the whole industry, especially, you know, with different outfits and stuff, a lot of guys, it's just nothing but drama. And everyone wants to be the next biggest and greatest thing.
Right.
Well, if you're worried more so about being better than so-and-so down the road, you're going to tend to cut corners on what you're doing just to be similar to somebody else. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't care what the next dude's doing.
Right.
I could give a shit less. You know, I'm just trying to make sure that our hunts are good. We're doing it the right way. People are leaving happy and satisfied with what they paid for.
Right. What's kind of your end goal with all of this stuff? I mean, now that you're traveling more, I mean, you started off with buddy hunts and hunting with family, and then went more to a buddy hunt situation, and went on this hunt through high school, and kind of got that jump start to start guiding and stuff, and now guided in Michigan for a few years. Now you're going to multiple states. What's your end goal? I mean, you guys are very successful guides already. You have your own lodge now. You have a bunch of other stuff that other guide services don't. I mean, granted, every year that one guy has a hot fee and he's all of a sudden a guide service, but
right.
you know what I mean? And,
right.
and that's a whole different conversation. But what's your end goal with all of this?
I mean, the end goal essentially is, you know, I want to keep expanding and turn this into something that we can live, you know, like, not just myself, but everybody that works for me can live comfortably off of it and make a good living doing it. Because, I mean, that's the problem with it is, you know, it's hard to be a part-time guide.
Right.
That's really challenging from what I noticed, 'cause especially our first year doing it. I mean, guiding just on the weekends and still working a full-time job. It's almost like there's got to be a bit of sacrifice in there with your regular job just to be able to maintain good scouting and doing things the right way just for the weekends.
Right.
You know, and yeah, being half in and half out just doesn't work. So I want to keep consistent work from the beginning of September all the way until the end of snow goose season, you know. Maybe in the future, I think we're planning on expanding the snow goose side of things especially and going into other states for that. Just because, I mean, yeah, northeastern Missouri is great for snows,
right?
But it's not a destination spot, you know. A lot of people think of snow geese, they think of Arkansas or
I mean, that's
South
the thing, though,
Dakota,
too. I feel like you can make that a destination spot, and that's your spot, though. You know what I mean? And we talked about the location and stuff like that. Like, that could be a spot where you're putting it on the map, and it's not just you're helping out like, the entire city at that point of that spot, whether they want it or not. But just, I mean, it helps out in more ways than just yourself.
Yes. But, see, that's the thing with snow goose. It's hard to actually establish that as a destination spot because you got to think with Canada goose, most guys are hunting the actual, like they're actually hunting.
Right.
Like, you know, they're setting up in blinds, they're decoying the birds, they're killing them.
Right.
With snows, you got so many dudes that wake up and wait until the birds are done feeding. They go and drive around and be like, oh man, there's 5,000 snow geese sitting in my neighbor's pond.
Right.
Go and ask
Let
my
me
neighbor,
jump shoot them real quick.
Let's get 15 dudes and we're gonna just blast them through the reeds.
Right.
And you know they'll put up 300 birds that they just shot off the water, and they're gonna post it on Facebook and be like, oh yeah, you know,
come book with us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah, we're in Central Illinois and it's super hot over here right now. We're mowing them down. Well, there's so much of that going on, I feel like, where it's just almost hard to believe what's actually happening because 5,000 snows sitting on a pond and you lay into them with 15 guys.
Right.
Obviously, you're to kill a pile.
Right.
And But when push comes to shove, if you were to set up there,
you're really putting that work in.
yeah, and
right.
you're probably not gonna have necessarily the greatest hunting. You actually got to be in the flyway because anybody could go and drive around and find a pocket of juvies sitting on a pond, and get all their buddies and get a couple shotguns with extension tubes and go out there and just give them hell, But actually sitting there and decoying the geese is, what people are paying to do. I'm not gonna have people book a snow goose hunt and then like, hey, let's go and jump shoot them. That's not the whole point. That's not the experience. And why are you even paying me to do that at that point? Because what work am I putting in?
No, 100%. 100%. What kind of spreads you guys running out there? I mean, in I guess even here, like, are you guys running all full bodies, or socks? I mean,
so when it comes to Canada geese, I'm a full body guy through and through.
100%. That's why I want to throw this cup that I will say Tanner left yesterday. I want to throw it right to the river, and just because it's got that certain sticker on it, and not ever see that cup again. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I just had to go on a tangent.
Don't get me wrong, there is a time and a place, I feel like, for silhouettes if you use them the right way. I like to use them as fillers. At the end of the day, that's how I'll particularly use them. Don't get me wrong, I've shot geese over silhouette
100%.
spreads. It works. Does it work as well as full bodies? Absolutely not. I don't think that. But
I mean, maybe a year or two ago, yeah. But now that everybody's got them,
yeah,
I feel like
everybody and their brother has them.
Exactly, all the way down that flyway, like they're seeing that the entire time. Yeah, that stupid thing. I'm gonna have to name that bug because he's been bugging us all day. Don't hurt Jerry, dude. No, but
right now.
So mostly full body. What kind of full body are you guys running?
So I got 8 dozen Dave Smiths,
Oh
and then
God.
Jesus, Murphy.
I don't even know how many avians we have, to be honest with you.
Let's not skip over the fact 8 dozen Dave Smiths.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so
holy smokes.
Getting into the guiding thing, so my thought process was I grew up, once we got into the full body game, we were using a mismatched spread of full bodies. And like I said, I had the final approaches, but they weren't holding up the greatest with the beating that we were putting them through. And we had a bunch of other random brands that were thrown in there. But going into starting to guide, I didn't want to have clients coming out and seeing a cobbled together decoy spread that looked like shit.
I mean, I guess that is a big thing appearance-wise for the clients. You got to sell a hunt before even hunting for the clients-wise, which that makes sense.
But the Dave Smith, so yeah, like going into the guiding thing, back then, leading up to starting to guide, I had a Ford Ranger, and I used to, after work, every day I'd drive around on trash day, and I'd load up a bunch of scrap metal in the evening and just pile it all at my house. And then, because usually I think garbage day was like Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah. Like I was one of those dudes. But
that's all right.
Hey,
you got
whatever
8 dozen Dave Smiths now. I think you're okay.
Oh yeah. So like every day after I got a good pile, after work every single day, I get out of work, I'd run home, load the truck up, I go to the scrapyard, and I get like 2 or 3 loads in before they closed. And that's how I saved up money to be able to buy Dave Smiths. Yeah, that and taking cans back.
Holy
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. Though.
No, that's awesome.
It was a grind.
That's good.
I'm sure that's a whole grind in itself right there.
Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't just me buying them too. I mean, like Steven, my cousin Steven bought some.
Oh, I thought you just had that.
Almost did. But, yeah, so we ended up getting them. A vast majority of them were used. I met a guy in South Dakota that had a monster spread of them, and you got them.
Dude, we're literally trying to catch this gnat that's been flying around for the last 2 hours now.
But, yeah, so I met a guy in South Dakota, and he was a really good dude, and he had a monster spread of Dave Smiths. That's all he owned, and he had, like, an absurd amount of them. And he was letting go a bunch of them, and we ended up buying, 7 dozen DSD lessers. Okay. And I was a little skeptical about it at first because I had never used an actual lesser decoy for honkers, right? And I think we got 3 boxes, so 3 4-packs of the Giants as well. Yeah. Then I got some honkers, but the lessers, I'll tell people about that. I'm like, oh yeah, I got 7 dozen DSD lessers, and they're like, lessers? Why the hell would you have that in Michigan?
Graders here.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. I've hunted with those things for 3 years. I have never found a goose that discriminates against your goose's decoy's size.
Right.
They don't care about the size. They care about is that a goose or not.
Yeah.
And those DSDs look second to none at the end of the day.
Well, for me, speaking on that, I always tell everybody at the same time, like, I feel like for down here anyway, we have 2 different types of birds that we're hunting. We're hunting those true graders that are, like, spread out in the field, kind of away from each other, and then you get the smaller ones. And I'm not saying cacklers or lessers or anything. They're just the subspecies of the graders that are, like, right on top of each other, feeding and doing their own thing, which I could be way off on that, but that's my own opinion on, like, where I'm at. I don't know if anybody else is really realizing that or seeing that.
Absolutely. So, like, I think what it is more so is, you got your regular calendar, you got your molts, you got your residents, and then, I see every year, like last year, we shot. I wouldn't necessarily consider some lessers. Like, I know we have shot like 2 or 3 true lessers,
right?
And we've also
shot that subspecies,
yeah,
right,
yeah. And then I know we've also shot in the past Richardson geese are like a subspecies of a cackler,
right?
We shot one last year in particular that really stood out to me.
Just tiny.
Yeah, like I could show you a picture of it. And then after I'd left, my cousin ran a hunt with some clients, and they shot a cackler. Like, it had the full
white ring and everything.
Yeah, he's getting it mounted.
It's
a
sick,
beautiful looking bird. But so I notice a lot, like with where I'm hunting, you'll get your regular honkers, your everyday honker, and then I tend to see more so when you get closer towards the coast of the Great Lakes, it's almost a different bird to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bigger, like your actual giants.
True grader, yeah.
And like, I mean, I've seen the actual giants with the solid white unibrow.
Brow, yeah.
And you get up to, I found a feed last year where it was, I bet you right in the ballpark, about 800 bird feed, and there was one giant in the middle of that feed that was like
stuck out like crazy,
double the size of every other goose in there. And I have pictures, but they're really shitty because it was through my binos.
Right.
But this goose had the solid white unibrow, and the white patches on his cheeks went like way up the side of his head, and he was monstrous.
Sick, though.
Oh yeah, like it.
I don't think people realize that though. Even like with geese and stuff like that, there's so much of a different like
a variation in them.
Like color wise, or like we shot one that was like super bronze last year, like his whole belly, whether it be on like the Hudson Bay up north from that salt water, which I think it was because it was a very small bird, and it's got that bronze.
Oh, the rusty.
Yeah, or if it was on like a irrigation kind of pond situation, I don't know, but there's so many variations of birds and their color sequences, like the eyebrows or the white patches or just certain different things. You know what I mean? It's just that people don't realize that there's.
So like here, that's a picture of that giant.
Oh, that's sick.
I mean,
he was a sweet picture though.
He was a monster.
Yeah,
but, and you could see his unibrow.
Yeah, that's the first thing I've seen.
A very prominent, big white unibrow.
Show Nolan there. Nolan's never shot a goose.
No,
I mean, that bird was.
Never shot a goose.
When I took
Are you serious?
Yeah, you're dead on with that.
Oh, I was just completely joking.
No, you're right with that.
But no, I mean, that goose in that picture, he was about 300 yards off the road.
Really?
The feed, yeah.
And he was that.
Yeah, like that prominently noticeable. And then,
wow.
I got this other picture right here that I think it was a lesser. I can't remember. Let me see if I find the picture. It should be right here. But just like you were saying, with a rusty bronze color belly, this is what this goose had, and it was.
I'll try to find that picture here while you're looking for
it. Was even the size difference next to the regular honkers we were shooting next to it. I mean, it was substantially smaller. Man, where is the picture?
Now, do you think that's like a stunted growth type thing, or do you think that's just their young, or you think it's like a one-off, basically?
Minnesota was like the first state to go back to like the true graders, and all of a sudden they started seeing these subspecies of like the cacklers and like that were way up in the Arctic, when they were breeding and stuff. And when they used to breed, you know, you would have all these like in between species of geese, but they weren't like the true graders, or they weren't, you know,
So
there's
this
a whole science behind it all.
I mean, you could see the whole the belly, the whole bird is a different color than because I have it sitting next to just one of the honkers out of the pile that we shot that day, because I think we shot like 27 or something. But like even this bird's beak or bill, I guess you'd say, proper.
Who says beak?
His bill was like half the size of every other honker in the feed.
Holy smokes!
So like he's substantially smaller. He has a lot of rustiness on him, and like I said, his bill was half the size as everything else.
This is the picture I'm talking about right there. So that's me and Ellie there.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so geese.
Yep.
And then you can just tell the whole difference of how like
it's
that
completely
yellow,
different color.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. But yeah, it was a pretty cool bird that we shot there.
And that's a weird thing too to talk about, because you know a lot of guys say that birds get that rustiness on them from water, from a certain type of water, a mineral in the water.
Right.
But it varies so much with geese, and I
100%.
have a hard time believing that, because at the end of the day, I've seen even the snows. They get like an old adult snow will get a bunch of yellow rusty feathers on their face, but it's not necessarily on their belly all the time. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I have shot them with their belly being rusty, but
is that age you think for the snows?
I think it's got to be something along that line, and I think with Canada's it may be the same thing.
Okay.
I just have a hard time believing of the whole it's sat on a pond with certain chemicals or minerals in it.
See, the Hudson Bay birds, I feel like, might be a little bit different in that aspect because of the saltwater wise of it all.
Right.
Which might, dye that color of the feathers or whatever. Because if you really think about it, like my lanyard sitting right there, that top band was like a 12-year-old bird, but it looked like every other bird that was around there. And, how old does a bird really need to get until it gets that color?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like mineral does have a thing to do with it, and depending on if it grew up there, is a parent swimming and eating out of that, and it might be a nesting even kind of thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's my opinion though. I mean, whatever. But whatever, Nolan.
Opinion's wrong.
Probably is.
No, I think that topic's a very debated
it's a very wide open.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to really say. Because I know I've read things like scientists have put out, or DNR biologists. They're like, oh yeah, well it's the water. But I also think too, if it's water, why isn't more of their body colored? Because it's not like just their bellies sitting in the water necessarily. Because why isn't
they're bathing in it? They're right.
A goose's ass is white.
I don't
you
know.
think the white? You think
that
the white
city
feathers.
just north of us right now? I mean, them birds are no.
But yeah. I mean, you think. At least that's my thought process behind it. It's kind of hard to say. I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot of, I feel like, still unknown with it all, and that's why I kind of really follow Nick J around a lot, or not follow him around. I'm not a stalker, but like follow like his, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but he is so technical with all of his geese and stuff like that, and I like really try to learn off of him because he's such got that passion for the waterfowl and stuff, and it's very inspiring thing to really look into.
Well, I feel like that's kind of like one of the biggest unknowns too.
What's that?
Like just in general, like following birds. It's like, I mean, with, I don't know, you relate it to fishing wise. It's like, if you were to catch a certain, if you were to catch a fish and it's this color, it's like, okay, he's adapting to whatever bottom he's at right now versus like, I mean, you'd have to specifically follow that bird
100%.
From where it came from to where that you shot it from now
to
like crazy. Understand it's so hard
bird,
to do that.
And that bird, it's like, man, I wish I would have banded just so I could see, because that's all I care about, like with like bands and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
obviously we don't shoot a lot of bands, but it's like I just want to know, like, where did this bird come from? How old is this bird? How many spreads of this bird how many surprises have this bird just alone seen?
Oh yeah.
In its lifetime. That's what I find like very interesting.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
one of the coolest parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, no. Like I don't have a bunch of bands. Like I think 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the same amount of bands. I got 7 too.
So I only have 5.
Oh really? We got Jack Miner on there, don't you?
So the Jack Miner, our buddy lives next to it. It's an actual Jack Miner band, but he lives next to the sanctuary, and so it's not off of a bird.
Oh,
but it's from the sanctuary. Like I said, it's an actual band, but I've only seen one Jack Miner, and it's funny because I was up in the middle of the city, and I'm like watching these geese cross the parking lot and stuff, and I'm like, man, it would be so easy to hit one right now. You know, I'm sitting in the truck. All of a sudden, I see something yellow. It was a tarsal. And I'm like, wait a minute. What in the world is this bird doing here? Posted on my Snapchat. Jordan messaged me back. He's like, dude, what are the numbers on that? So I tell him the numbers on it. He's got that bird's picture from 2 years prior at Jack Miner Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And this is like an hour and a half northwest of where we're at right now, like dead middle, and it was just crazy. But that's the only time I've ever seen one.
Right. I've never seen tarsal. I've never seen a neck collar. I seen a banded speck get killed last year in Texas.
That's
from Yukon, Alaska.
Really?
No
Yeah.
kid.
But
awesome.
I mean that's where they do a vast majority of their speck banding, to my knowledge.
Well, it's a lot of the breeding grounds,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Specks fly a long ways, but no, last year I shot one black band.
Really? You did?
Yeah, I did get a black.
That's sick.
Yeah, I got it the last day of season. We didn't have any clients, and me and my cousin Steven and my uncle went out and we just hunted a small feed. Like I think it was like a 250 bird, 300 bird feed, and we threw up an A-frame real quick in this. Oh yeah, I've seen that video.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were hunting this small feed, and we just threw up an A-frame real quick in this little wood lot in the middle of the field. And it was starting to get close to shooting light. We're like, man, maybe these geese aren't even going to feed tonight. And then they just started pouring in. And I had actually brought my my grandpa's 410. It was a Winchester Model 42.
Okay.
So it's
old.
A really old 410. Yeah. And I got some bismuth for it to shoot, actually, use it to shoot geese.
Right.
And our first flock came in, and we were doing a cross shoot on them. And I shot a goose, and just one goose, because I only shot twice. But my cousin Steven shot a 2 or 3. I don't know. But, yes, we dropped a couple birds out of it. Well, the goose that I shot, I, paid attention to it.
Right.
And I center punched this thing. And it went down and then picked back up, and it flew across the field right into the top of a tree. It got hung up in a tree.
You already know it's banded at that point.
So I walked all the way across the field and got over there, and then they had geese coming in, and they were still shooting over there while I was screwing with this goose in the tree. I climbed up in the tree and got it down, and it had a black band on it.
Oh my god.
It's a hell of a story.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And the band ended up being from none of it.
Really?
Yeah, so I didn't even know they did black bands in
I thought it was just like a Michigan thing, honestly.
Well, I heard they did it in Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio.
Yeah, and Ohio, I guess. Yeah,
I think Indiana did it too.
Okay. I
maybe
didn't know they were doing
Illinois.
it way up there, though.
Yeah, I had no idea they did black bands in Canada, and that was pretty cool.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it just sucks because turns out the black band thing.
Just spray paint.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up very well.
Yeah.
So I tried to clear coat the band to retain the black.
Probably ate it all out.
It's still on there, but it's wearing off.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unfortunate, but
that's what sucks about it all.
Yeah.
I mean, 2-3 years down the road, it's just to be a regular band
yeah, exactly.
on the birds.
I 100% agree with that because I mean I think that bird. It was banded the year prior.
Right.
Which was the first year they did black bands, and yeah, it was half the bands already silver, anyways. So.
That's nuts.
Yeah, man.
Do you guys do any like pigeon hunting over there or anything?
Not really. We don't have a ton of pigeons up by us. Like if you have a spot, that's the only spot around. Yeah, like that's the spot. I I've shot a handful of pigeons. Like, I did shoot a pigeon band.
Okay.
I think 3 years ago. I was at my buddy's house, and we looked out the window, and there was just a banded pigeon sitting on his back porch.
Oh.
Just one banded pigeon. So, me and him got our shotguns, and we snuck around the house, and it was sitting there. It flew up on the bird feeder, and me and him, it had 2 bands on it. So what we were going to do is we were just going to count 3, 2, 1. We were just going to both shoot at the same time, and just one of us, both of us would get a band.
Right.
And I counted down. I was like 3, 2, and then I shot it.
Oh, he was waiting.
You a scumbag.
He got the actual band. I got the GPS transmitter
so
one.
It's like that second one there. Okay.
Right yeah. Mine's blue.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
Yeah, same thing, which is pretty cool. But
that bird there, I was with my girlfriend's brother, and this pigeon sitting on the ground and flies up in the barn and stuff, and I'm like, sneak around the other side. I'm going to walk through him and push him out and shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, all right, sounds good. So he walks out, and I push him out. And I figured it was banded. We shot like 3 or 4 bands over there. We start walking through, and bird flies out. He puts a gun on him. Click. I'm like, oh, my God, dude, you just did not just misfire just now. Bird flies around. Boom, shoot him. Lands on the roof. I'm like, what the hell? How am I going to get this bird off? So I got a green stake in the ground. I put a pallet on that, a pallet. I put a probe duct tape to a broom, so it's like a giant L. And I'm like fishing this bird off the roof. He's behind me like, hey, a little to the left. So I'm like moving it over. It's like a 10-foot long pole at this point. Like the probe is however long, and then the duct tape is like peeling off, so the broom handle is like facing the other way. I'm pulling this bird like off the roof. I get it off the roof. It's double banded. I'm like, holy shit, dude! Are you kidding me right now? Like, it was crazy.
No, we had last year. It was the most disappointing thing ever to watch. But there was the first week of October. Well, not first week of October, but the first week of season in October. So it would have been the second week of October.
Okay.
In the South Zone here, and we were hunting a cut cornfield, and half of it was cut and the other half was standing corn. And
best hide ever.
It was raining. It was beautiful. I mean, we were laying into them really good, and I think we were 5 off from our limit, and we had a flock of 5 that they just wouldn't commit though. Like they were just kind of hanging back because the wind started to pick up, and what they were starting to do, we were doing a.
No, you're good. Keep going.
We were trying to do a cross shoot on them, and as we were trying to do that, like I said, the wind was picking up, so they were kind of swerving back and forth downwind of us, and they were starting to kind of pick us out, and especially because it was the later half of the hunt, the corn was starting to get a little bit messed up. It wasn't perfect, and we had spent shell casings on the ground we hadn't picked up yet, so they were starting to kind of notice us, and they were hung up about 35, 40, and they weren't high, but I just called the shot because there's 5 in the flock. We only needed 5 for our limit, so we start shooting. As soon as we started shooting, the back bird in the flock flared. Well, I mean, all of them flared, obviously, but the back bird in the flock flared up, and it showed its belly to us, and it was a quill lake.
Oh, my God.
And it was the only bird that escaped. And I about cried, dude, because I had a perfect white bra on it, and it flew away. That was the only quill lake I've ever seen in my life in person, and it flew away.
We had a hunt. We had one hunt last year where the guys were like, "There's specks right above us. You hear the specks?" I'm like, "Dude, I scouted this field hard. Like, there's no specks out in this field. I know it for a fact." And he's like, "No, there's specks." I'm like, "Dude, no, there's not. Just shut up and keep your head down." Sure enough, I call my buddy after. He's like, "How'd you guys do?" Because they were hunting right across the on the other side of the highway and stuff. And he's like, "How'd you guys do?" I'm like, "Yeah, we did good. We shot 26 or whatever with a band." He's like, "Did you get any of those blues or snows or specks?" I'm like, whoa. What did you just say? He's like, "Yeah, there's blues and specks and snows out in that field." I'm like, "You're kidding me?" He's like, "No, dude." So I go by the roost. Sure enough, blue sitting right there. I'm like, "How did I not see them birds out there?" And then same thing, I had Sean in on a hunt. He's like, "Dude, did you see that quill?" I'm like, why didn't you call the shot, dude? I can't see down on that end of your blind. Like, if you see that stuff, like, call it out, dude. Because you know how it is, like, the bird, like, a flock's coming in and it's kind of flaring off the side, but that other flock's, like, just doing it perfect, and you can tell the whole time. So I'm waiting for that last flock, and there's a quill, like, flying right in. I'm like, dude, just call it, bro. Like, that's insane.
Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah, no, like, so getting into the snow thing, every year, I mean, so growing up, I've never seen a snow goose in Michigan, right? And I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, I seen my first one, and there was just a small flock hanging out in a local shit pond in town.
Right.
And I never seen them while we were hunting. I know a couple local guys shot 2 or 3, and I've never shot a snow goose in Michigan still to this day. So, like, I mean, every year. Oh, yeah. So, every year, I see more and more. Last year, I seen the most snows I've ever seen in my life in Michigan.
I feel like they're getting more abundant around us because, like, the last 3 or 4 years, I think I've at least one here every single year. So I think they're, like, slowly, you know, I've been starting to see a lot more blues, snows.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't know so much Ross's. Where do you go, Nolan? But so much Ross's or anything because it's so hard
Ross's
to tell.
last year. But no, last year it got to the point where, like, once the actual migration started rolling on and going out scouting, it was pretty much every day where I'd look at, you know, multiple feeds every time I'm going out scouting, and I would find that there was at least 1 to 4 snows in at least one of the feeds I found every day.
Yeah.
And we got close last year twice to shooting a snow. The one time it wasn't actually close, I would say. Like, this thing was high, and it flew right over us. It was in the feed, but it just flew right over our spread and didn't even look at us. I put 2 snow goose decoys out. I have
DSDs?
Yeah, I have 100 DSD snows.
It's just
Wait, whoa. What did you just say?
I got 100.
DSD snows?
Yeah. I mean, they come in packs of 10.
Smokes, though, dude.
No, I mean, I don't even need to get into that right now.
Yeah, let's not, because you're going to just make me jealous at this point. We just looked it up the other day, and you've seen the DSDs.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, I put 2 snow goose decoys out in that hunt, and it didn't give a shit. It just flew right past us. So, the whole snow goose thing, I did it last year a couple times where I put snow decoys out in the spread. Canada's didn't care. The snows just ignored it. We did have one hunt last year where there was 3 snows in the field. It was a winter wheat field we were hunting, and we shot some Canadas. They were coming in, and finally I just seen one bird flying on the horizon, and it was one snow goose, and it flew over us at probably 70 yards high.
Holy smokes.
Too high to shoot.
Right.
But it was also at that point where
last year we had a pelican that was circling our decoys. I'm just curious, like,
Lake
you guys
got
had
a lot of pelicans.
we don't have pelicans up by us.
Like, if you guys had some oddball bird that you never kind of expected to see hovering over.
Not really so much in the field, really.
No.
I mean, I've seen cool things like when the day I shot my first band, I was 16, and we hunted a pond behind somebody's house, like just a backyard pond.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of geese landing in there, and they didn't want the geese in there because they know they're shitting all
over.
Yeah. That morning, the first 2 geese that were going to come into us, they were flying around, and they were flying around, and a bald eagle got up out of a tree and started chasing them in the air. Chased him for like 10 minutes. Finally, the eagle gave up and sat in a tree, and then the geese came and landed in the pond. We shot them. Well, they didn't land, but they cupped came into the decoys, and we shot them. So they fought for their life for 15 minutes just to die, anyways. But
one way or the other.
Oh yeah,
you're going down.
And even in Missouri, I mean, with snows, like, we'll have eagles hang out sometimes. Like, I've seen it last year where they're hanging out on the edge of wherever we're hunting, and we'll lay into a flock, and you'll have cripples and stuff. And if you don't run out there right away and go grab them, that eagle's going to come down and grab that bird and start eating on it. Yeah. Yeah, wow. I seen that happen a lot, and I'd have to, like, I mean, we'd sail one like 700 yards or something ridiculous, and I just get out of the blind. I'm like, all right, guys, I'll be back in 15, 20 minutes.
Got to go walk a mile and a half
to
come back.
I think the craziest thing that's happened for us is really just We had like 130-inch deer chasing a doe through the spread last year.
Oh yeah, I've had that.
Right.
I've had like back when we used to hunt out of layout blinds. I've had monster bucks walk right into the decoys in the morning.
Yeah, don't. You're not allowed to goose hunt here because we deer hunt it. Trust me, it doesn't matter.
No, it don't.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't affect them at all. They don't give a shit.
Exactly.
I mean, I've had big bucks stand on the edge of the field while we're shooting geese, and they just don't care.
They do not care at all.
They know they're not getting hunted.
Exactly. Exactly. We've been going on for quite a while now. What's like your biggest tip for maybe a new outfitter that's wanting to start up, or a new guy that wants to guide, or just a tip in general for waterfowl?
Spend the time scouting. That's the biggest thing, and learn your birds. Because I mean, I said that earlier. Scouting's 50% of it.
Right.
Spending time and actually just watching geese in a field,
you'll
learn more about how you're supposed to hunt by just watching them in the field and how they act, what they're doing. Even especially I've spent times where I already know where I'm hunting and I already know where the feed's at, and I'll get there before the geese get there and watch the first flock land, see what they do. What are they looking around for? Do they circle? Do they just dump it into one spot?
Right.
Is there a low spot in the field that they favor because there's water there and a little bit of moisture?
Spot or what, right.
Yeah, and sitting there and just observing, you learn so much more than driving past saying, "Oh, look at there's 500 geese in that field. We're hunting that bitch tomorrow," and just sending it.
100%.
Spending the time, taking the time to sit there and just watch them with the binos and the windows down and listen to them, and just observing. You learn so much more than you actually think. Because I know a lot of guys say that, and I know a lot of kids that just they don't do that.
It goes back to that finding out the right and wrong with it all that we talked about earlier. With you got to go out there and figure it out for yourself at a certain point, and you can't get mad at for people saying to go do that as well. Right. You know what I mean? You literally have to go figure out yourself and do it.
It's trial and error. I mean, everything works for different areas, takes different things. I mean,
exactly.
I know a big thing that I run into is a lot of guys on the west side of Michigan swear up and down about layout blinds.
I hate them.
I haven't hunted out of a layout blind but one time in the past 3 years.
Yeah, I agree.
In Michigan.
Yep.
I hate them. Over here, I just don't use them.
Yep.
And when I do, I'll take them out on buddy hunts and stuff. And we'll have good hunts here and there, but there's other times where they just pick you apart.
I think if you're hunting more than 3 or 4, then there's no point.
Yeah. I mean,
and 3 or 4 is pushing it for me too. I mean, you can hide in some really good hides for layout blinds, but it's far and few between, I feel like.
And for me personally, I've spent the mornings, with as long as you get the okay from the farmer to dig down and even get your layout blind flush with the surface of the ground, and it looks invisible. Yeah, it looks invisible from our aspect, but the geese still somehow pick you apart, and I just don't run them up here. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I've had phenomenal snow goose hunts out of layout blinds in Missouri, and if I were to set those layouts like I did in Missouri for snows up here for honkers, it wouldn't work.
Right.
It just would not.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's different for every area. You just gotta experiment and figure out what works.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. But no, I feel like definitely maybe middle of the season when you get a break, we kind of do a little recap of your season and what's going on with you and what the future plans are for you. Did you get them?
No, dude, I just missed it.
So do you got anything where these guys can find you, how to get a hold of you to book hunts, to social media aspect or anything?
Yeah. I mean, you can find us on Facebook at Burning Sky Outfitters. Same thing with Instagram. We got a website as well. I don't even know. I think it's burningskyoutfitters.com probably.
Do you want to plug your Snapchat in, or not a big fan of it?
Oh yeah, I mean, my personal Snapchat is Donnie866. Nothing fancy, but I mean, you could add me on there if you want to. But yeah, I mean, for social media, Facebook's the #1 best way to reach us. I'm on there all the time. Instagram, I'm not as consistent as I used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how you find us, and
Sounds good, man. Well, I do got to say, me and Nolan went out to Bay City, and I do want to shout out the GK guys over there. I don't know what kind of calls you're running, but the GK has been helping us out a lot, and just big shout out for them. I'll be at their booth for the Point Moulet. I want to shout out the Gator decoys, which I don't know if you know the Gator decoy guys. They got some, your Mojo sticks that are, piece by piece by piece.
Yeah.
Gator
actually, I
decoys.
met that guy last year.
Okay, so
yep.
he's got the extended poles.
Yes, sir.
Just some great stuff compared to
absolutely.
love their stuff. They're coming out with some new stuff coming in soon, which I don't know if I want to say or can say, whatever it is. And then big shout out to Migra with all their stuff. Also, I don't know what you're shooting, but Migra stuff we've been shooting for a while, been digging all that stuff. But like always, like I said, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming down, spending the time, taking the drive down, and for only meeting the second time in person wise, it's really been a pleasure kind of getting to know you and, the whole outfitter side of everything. And hopefully we can do it again. And like I said, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me now.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So until next time, guys, appreciate it.